a female-founded practice, but we work on a wide range of things. I think the key thing about our practice really is that we're collaborative, so we like to get information and input from all different sources, so everybody in the office and everybody that we work with. We work on a wide range of projects, but there's usually common themes around community, conservation, culture and heritage, and always sustainability is involved in our projects really. We approach all of our projects with thought and care, so we do a lot of research at the beginning, and obviously depending on where the project's sited, we look at all the conditions and how it's being used and who the people are that are involved. That really informs the strategies that we set out for the building, that are layered on top of all the kind of legislative things that you would need ordinarily. That's always the starting point really. The Hartley Hut is a small watchman's hut located on the Albert Dock. It's part of a collection of small buildings that National Museums Liverpool are custodians of. When we first looked at it, the initial intention was that it would be a food and beverage outlet, so that it would add to the Waterfront offer. But that first feasibility study was done before lockdown, and I think lockdown really focused everybody on how we use spaces. The key reason why we weren't able to develop it as a food and beverage outlet is because it didn't have the right services for it, and because it's a Grade 2 listed building, the interventions that we would need to do were too intrusive, we felt, for the hut. But we were also considering all the space around it and how it relates to the buildings that it sits next to. And it's very small in scale compared to the rest of the site. And actually it's quite a nice moment between what's quite a big, important historic site. A lot of the stories that we found out about the hut were really interesting, and they were all intangible things, like what people did in there on a day-to-day basis, from having their hair cut to eating a pan of scouse. And we thought that that was quite an interesting story to tell that was beyond just what the architecture was.
Rather than wanting to fix things to the walls, like display panels, or mount things separately, we wanted to put a freestanding structure, which then means that you can mount sort of display panels inside that people can read without having to actually touch the building itself. A big part of that as well is how we can engage like people in different ways, so not just reading signboards, also wanting to introduce a soundscape. It's quite a small space for people to go into. You're really only going to have a handful of people to go in at a time. It's actually surprisingly bright when you're in there, because I guess it has a panoramic view, which is part of the story of what the huts were used for, and being able to like watch for ships coming in, watch for things that were already in port. The intention behind putting exhibition display in the hut was so that it was something that was ephemeral and lightweight, and that actively contrasts with the permanence of the hut and the stone walls. What was nice that got brought out of some of the engagement days that had been done as part of the Heritage Open Days, it's one of these things that people see every day but maybe don't know what it is. And I think that when people go to the Albert Docks as well, they're kind of like taken in by sort of the monumental scale of the warehouses, and that's kind of the focal point, especially for sort of like the tourism aspect. And the Hartley Hut is a tiny sort of like special part of that helped the dock run day to day when it was sort of like in its heyday.
It might be somewhere that's reimagined for different events that the city hosts throughout the year. So although day to day it's going to be an exhibition, there'll be like opportunity to do like one-off things, which I think could be quite a fun way of bringing it back into use, I guess.